Hey, welcome back to another HVAC Success Secrets Revealed with Thaddeus and Evan. We have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, buddy. Somebody was excited for this episode because they put that up on the bottom.
Yeah, somebody. Who was that?
I know who it was.
There was actually a lot of people in Facebook land on all the different places where we post about the episode, talking about who we were having on today as our wonderful guest. And there was a lot of people that were hyped about it. And I was pretty excited about it as well, because this is something we've been planning since October. And I don't think we've ever planned that far in advance for a show before. Usually it's about 3 minutes before we get started. So this is
accurate.
This should be a good conversation today. I'm really excited about it. For those of you that did not see the posts or just read the little headline above here, we got Amanda Triolo back on the show. Amanda has been on the show twice. Once was in Vegas on a little quick show that we did down there. But we wanted to take a deeper dive into what it is that she's building with Grasshopper, because a lot of people have witnessed it. A lot of people have seen some of the cool videos and the cool stuff that they do, the culture that they built there. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that, dive into the culture, how you build that. I'm super excited to get into that part of the conversation, but also into planning and budgeting and what all that looks like. And I think you're going to be fascinated to find out some of the details behind what she's done in the past and what she's doing differently moving forward. What about you, bud?
Spoiler alert, it has to do with not having a budget. We'll get into that. Yeah, I'm super excited for it. Again, back in October in Vegas, having that conversation, we're like, we got to have you on December, January to be able to talk about some of the things that you're doing now in your business that can really help others. But our episode would not be possible, of course, without those lovely people on the bottom of our screen: Chiirp, Profit Rocket, Sera, On Purpose Media, of course. We'll go in order. So Chiirp, if you haven't heard of it, it's an ultimate automation toolbox for home service pros that captures more leads, connect faster, and close more deals. Things that they do: direct integrations, aka drop-down menus with ServiceTitan, HouseCall Pro, Jobber, Sera, etc. Automated text message, emails, ringless voicemails, rehash programs, getting more Google reviews. It goes on and on and on and on. Of course, you can get your first, I was going to say 3 months free, and they probably hate me for saying that. First, you're 25% off your first 3 months. Go to chirp.com/HSSR FPR equals OPM. That is full disclosure and affiliate link, but we'll put those in the show notes for you for later. The other company, Sera, these two go hand in hand. And Sera is a field service management software. They really help businesses on the back end with capabilities like tracking job time efficiency, the use of dynamic dispatching, pricing models based on actual data. And they focus on helping people save time, increase memberships, and get better margins, among other things. In fact, Sera users have an average increase of 52% of revenue in the first 6 months. With the icing on the cake, they double their profits on average within that same time frame. So check out them, sales.sera.tech/HVAC-revealed.
And last but not least, we got Profit Rocket. This is where we had Amanda on the show last, was at the Profit Rocket Summit down in Las Vegas. But if you have not checked out the business blueprint yet that Victor's put out, it's phenomenal. There's so much value in it. We're talking about call scripts, SOPs, everything that you need to run your business, from the front line with call setters and appointment setters, all the way through to your dispatchers, the marketing, call processes, everything. It's phenomenal. Go check it out. Callprofitrocket.com. And of course, they've also got their women event coming up here in just a couple weeks. Go to callprofitrocket.com to check that out as well. Well, bud, pitter patter.
Let's get at her.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
Love it. Welcome back, Amanda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. Cheers to you.
I got water today. I'm very sorry.
Water. That's all right. Forward is a way of life.
Smart decision.
Talking about budgets, I have to keep the smart hat on.
All right. Fair enough. Although I did hear back in elementary school, we read a book called Only Drunks and Children Tell the Truth. So if we really wanted to get down to the nitty gritty facts of Grasshopper's budget, I think alcohol will need to be involved.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, awesome. Well, welcome back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get right down to it in terms of some of the things that the changes that you're making. So when you talked to us in October, you talked about planning and budgeting. In the past, what did Grasshopper's budget look like in all the success that you've had leading up to this year?
The budget was non-existent. I never had a budget.
How do you operate a business without a budget?
Great question.
So the interesting part is my background is accounting and numbers. So I understand numbers. I understand accounting. I did a lot of research on like industry standards for where I saw expenses coming through based on profit. And so I knew we were doing well. I saw some areas to improve. And then there's some things that you kind of like learn and like little nuggets that you pick up from certain people. And I mean, we remained profitable. Just I never dove into actually setting a budget to set us up for the ultimate success.
Love it. Well, and that's the interesting thing about accountants is accountants will look at what's happened and be able to analyze that. And then they can make a couple quick decisions based on what just happened as to what to do next. So what is it that's changed in the business recently for you that has put you in a position to now be able to budget and plan forward and really forecast into the future, not just reacting to what it is that just happened last month?
So the interesting part is you see a lot of people post, right? Like once you get past the 5 million mark, it's time to start looking into a CFO and to do it sooner than later because you'll thank me later type of thing, you know? So after we surpassed the 5 million mark, I did start looking into a CFO, and it took us some time to really land with the right one. More time than I would have hoped with that, to be honest. And what I learned very quickly was my background might be accounting and numbers. However, the finance world is totally different. Like CFOs look at finances much different than like an accounting perspective like mine would, right? And when I tell you that the CFO has absolutely rocked my world, I have learned so much, and he continues to challenge me. And just the conversations that we have are like mind blowing, where I literally thank him almost every single time we interact. Like, wow, I learned so much today.
I love
I'm curious. Yeah. Well, and like you look at the difference, like the CFO is future forecasting, right? And analyzing, and accounting is what Evan mentioned, you know, what happened, right? And how can you pay less in taxes? In terms of, we had that conversation with our accountant the other day. I'm like, how can we pay the least amount possible in taxes? But when you look at, you know, rocking your world and bringing on a CFO, I'm curious to see what was the biggest eye-opening experience that he shed light on for you?
So I always knew the purchasing needed some tweaking here. And so the thing about Grasshopper is, although it feels like it's been much longer, we're just celebrating our 2-year anniversary in 2 weeks on February 1st. And so with the amount of growth that we've sustained so quickly, there was not always time for proper processes and procedures, but we did always point them out in the moment. And we knew that that was an area that we needed to target to make sure that we kind of strapped it down and got a hold of it. And, you know, other companies, sometimes they plan the growth a lot better. Ours was not planned as quick as it happened. And so we really were rolling with the punches as they were coming. So the purchasing aspect of this company struggled in terms of proper purchasing with purchase orders, making sure we lock in prices at certain places to make sure we're getting the best number and not all over the place, and just kind of inventory as a whole. And so he has helped us tremendously. Even just like the last 3 weeks, we've been just like honing in on it for 2023. And just the realm that he operates in the spreadsheet realm that I could never operate in the way he does. He presented me with a spreadsheet on our purchases for 2023, found a lot of inconsistencies, already is negotiating with distributors, and then we're finding a way to be able to lock those in with negotiating even further with purchasing power. That's just one avenue, but that's the one lately where like just the spreadsheets that he's pulled up and showed me, and just the forecasting for negotiating power moving into 2023 is like crazy.
Wow. Go ahead, bud. You had a financial question, so go for it.
No, it's the topic of negotiating power. And I think a lot of people miss this opportunity in their business to be able to say, hey, these are the prices that my distributor charges me. I'm just going to take it on the chin. Well, no, why don't you negotiate a better price? Why don't you go forward and have those conversations? And obviously the more you buy, the better negotiating power you have. At what mark would you say that you are starting to be able to negotiate more, and how do you go about initiating those conversations with your distributors?
So I actually learned this from Ken Goodrich at Rhino X last year. And the amount that I learned in just a short hour there has pivoted me like light years ahead. And it was just negotiating rebates, negotiating labor hours for warranty work, and exactly what that looks like. And, you know, if you're dealing with a distributor that doesn't take you seriously, or you're dealing with the distributor where your price is just your price because the distributor gave you that price, that was the land that I operated in. When I heard Ken talk, and then somebody else spoke about like possibly what they were buying a 2-ton condenser at, I quickly texted somebody in my office, like, what do we buy a 2-ton, 14 Sera, whatever it was. And they texted me the price. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have my work cut out for me. So I quickly came back from Rhino X, and I don't know if you saw the Facebook post or not, but I negotiated all of our furnace coils and condensers at a 50 to 63-ish% margin less. So I cut our costs over 50% on all of our equipment within 30 days coming back from Rhino X, which has like our profitability on jobs just skyrocketed. And having that locked in price at one place, it's been pivotal. And I mean, our bottom line increased exponentially in 2022. And when you compare it to like 2021, it's like, I beat myself up sometimes about it because the amount of room for leverage that was there is a little bit sickening.
Totally.
So
well, that's what's
to circle back to
like,
your question,
go ahead. No.
Just to circle back to your question, it was definitely, if you have a conversation with your current distributor where you're at and they don't take you seriously, or they kind of just keep passing time and you're not getting that negotiated pricing, like they had presented me with pricing the first time, right? And it's like they weren't willing to negotiate. There was no rebates on the table. So I moved on to another one and I said, this is who I am. This is what I project to spend this year. This is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a rebate at X% paid on all of my spend at the end of the year, including more than just systems. So pipes, parts, pieces, whatever. And that next person that took me seriously, I started there. Then when they took me seriously, I found one more, and I was able to compare what they were offering, the partnership they would bring, labor hours they were going to pay me, rebates they were going to pay me, and what that looked like serving us at a higher level so we could serve our clients at an even higher level.
That's massive. That is an incredible tip, because, and especially with, you see all the efficiency changes that are happening with equipment now. Obviously prices have increased dramatically in the last 2 years. And now they're increasing even further because of these changes. This is how you can get leaner as a company, get more efficient as a company in your spending with your distributors to make sure that you can remain more profitable and not have to charge as much as competitors.
Right. And that's been the pivotal piece too. And the one part that I missed, and when you are negotiating and when you start those conversations, is you have got to be able to cast your vision to them as a company so that they understand where you're headed and where you want to go to. Because when I got my first round of pricing, it was like maybe $200 off of this unit, or maybe $310 off of this, or $70 off a coil. And you put it back in their court. Look, thank you for this, but at this point, I think that you're going to have to go back on your manufacturer directly, because these price points are not the price points that we are looking at to lock in, say, a $3 million spend this year.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. And to have pushback on it, to know your worth, not just this year, but long term, to say that I really value a relationship and I'm looking for a partner in this. Yeah. So selling them on your vision, people will buy based off of emotion. They'll justify with logic. Yeah. And it's the exact same in the commercial world. Like, this is a business to business transaction, but people buy the exact same way. Their habits don't change.
Yeah. And one of our values is we believe in the power of strong partnerships. And that has been pivotal for us on who we choose to partner with. Not just for customers that we choose to say yes to, but for people that we do business with, that enables us to serve our clients. And, you know, a few other things they do for us, which this will be helpful for people who are finding they're the right partner for them, is they house. So like we ran our 2023 budget and forecasted our spend for 2023 based on 2023, what our goal for based on 2022, what our goal for 2023 is, and what this spend looks like based on what pieces of equipment we moved more. And so they currently have housed all of our 2023 equipment there. I'm paying no overhead. All the pricing is locked in. I'm guaranteed no price increases, and we have a guarantee to our clients. And so say you buy a furnace from me and the blower motor goes bad month 1 or say month 6, our distributor knows that I'm going to swap that entire piece of equipment out and not just the part. So they ride values to values with us, and I mean, they're a godsend.
Almost like a no lemon guarantee.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Have you ever heard of the? This is gold. It really is. Have you ever heard of the book "Never Split the Difference" by? He's the FBI. Chris Voss. He's that past FBI negotiator. Have you ever heard of that book before?
No. Nope.
No. I was wondering because like what you're talking about are some of the philosophies that he talks about in that book, and you're like one of the world's best, hostage negotiators. It's a phenomenal book, by the way. And anybody that really wants to read it, Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss is the guy's name. But you don't. You don't
sounds like if you want to negotiate like Amanda does when it comes to distributors and vendors of any kind, you should probably read the book.
Yes.
That's about it. So.
I mean, it takes
she hasn't read it.
Who you are to negotiate like that, because I'm like, all right, I'm not pulling the woman card, but I'm 29. I'm Amanda, just in upstate New York, and like to go against these by the way, this distributor is the largest privately held distributor in the entire United States. So to go to them and be like, nope, this is what we're looking for. It was a lot. It was a pivotal growth point for me. I see that Kelly just commented, so she knows what I'm talking about.
Hey, Kelly.
Right, but you like the worst. Like, what's the worst they're going to say? No, sorry. Okay, but now you're on the radar, right?
Yeah.
And now you're on the radar, and now they know who you are, because most people just say, okay, I'm going to take it. I'm just going to. These are my prices. I'll pass it down. But if you negotiate back and you push back and you have conversations, that's really what it's all about. And starting somewhere gets you somewhere. But if you don't start that conversation, you never need to get to your end destination. So I love that part. Circling back to the budget part of things, never had a budget, had to sit down, had to create one. Now we're in 2023 looking at the budget. If somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, shit, that's me. I've never created a budget in my life. I don't even really know where to begin.
Right.
Where would you start?
Well, I couldn't do it in my own power. I can tell you that much. So I think a CFO or maybe it's an outside resource that you might have available to you is a really good perspective. So I operate my personal life. Judge me if you want to. I don't have a budget. I live life very much so on the YOLO side. So I believe in living a great life, but responsibly. So if you have no money in your bank account, don't go live a YOLO life. But if you've got enough to where you're safe, if something comes up, whatever, that's how I operate my life. Okay. So budgets and like, you can only spend this much on entertainment and this much on food. I can't do that. I'm spontaneous and it doesn't suit me. Right. So with the business, having to put that in effect, that I was never irresponsible with spending. But it has been beneficial to know, and this is beneficial for negotiating power too. It's beneficial to know what you have budgeted for equipment purchases, because that also gives you that negotiating power of, nope, this is what we have budgeted. So, if you're not willing to conversate, I'll move on to the next. And one of our values is we work hard and play hard. So I had to make sure they budgeted a lot in that fund to make sure that that was able to still be achieved. All jokes aside.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with saying YOLO when you're millennial. I'm sorry, not sorry.
I was just gonna say, could you imagine? Oh
no, you're good. We can still hear you. Yeah, I think you're frozen, but I can still hear when you're talking, so you're good. So, Evan, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, could you imagine if Amanda had a concert budget? Like,
are you back? I think I lost you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear us?
Oh, you back?
Am I frozen?
You were the one that was frozen. Yeah.
Well, we can hear you. These are the joys of going live.
Right. Real life problems.
Am I back?
I think.
Yes,
you're
you
back.
are. Can you hear us?
Oh,
Oh, I think she might be fully gone. Evan, YOLO life. Touch on it. Go.
well, I would love to see Amanda stay within a concert budget because I follow her on Instagram and on Facebook, and I mean, it seems like every couple weeks she's at another concert. So I couldn't imagine her operating with that. That would be pretty ridiculous. But in terms of a business, it's fiscally irresponsible to run your business without a budget. I know this was something you and I went to TJ Hartnett's event in the fall, and it was entirely based on budgeting and making sure that you sat down and you put together a budget. And it's not uncommon. Like, this is the one thing that I want to make sure that all the business owners listening understand. It's not uncommon for you to have never done a budget before. Amanda was running a multi-7-figure business and crushing it and doing an extremely amazing job with no budget whatsoever. So it's not uncommon for that to happen. And I don't want someone to think, well, I've never put together a budget, like I'm a bad business owner. Well, no, you're actually in the majority of business owners. I think you're in the minority if you actually plan and have a full budget planned out.
But let's pause and reflect on that part a little bit, because really, I mean, who are the majority of people who start businesses within the HVAC space? They're generally guys that were in a truck who might not have any previous business experience behind things. And so if you are that person, you started a business with no prior business experience, no knowledge whatsoever, then you're okay to run without a budget. Lots of companies have done that. Now she's at the point where she's hired a CFO. She's hired an expert because she has the capabilities to bring somebody in who is better at it than her, to be able to financially compensate them because they're better at it than her, and really dial in those processes. If you can, at the end of the day, still make your payroll, still make your suppliers, still make your money in the end of the bank when you're starting out. Again, I'm talking to the startup businesses here. I'm not talking to the guys that are doing 5-10 million. They're likely already having a budget. No, it is okay.
Yeah,
totally. It is okay. But also ask for help, right? If you've never set a budget before in your life, reach out and ask for help. I believe the Profit Rocket Blueprint has a whole budgeting series and workshop in there. So you might want to check. There's a start, right? I mean, it's a DIY sort of a thing. Involved. I mean, there's obviously some done with you components, but now you can be able to work through that process. You'll say, all right, let's get a budget. Let's put it in place. Definitely.
I know part of the blueprint was called Profit Rocket has absolutely budgeting is built into that, right? So go check that out as well. So for the people who have never set a budget before, who do you think they could reach out to in terms of having some real conversation with someone within the financial industry? Not specific people, but someone. Thanks, Corey. Appreciate it, man. Corey just said, damn, I hate when that happens. Y'all are smooth. Good job. You got to roll with the punches sometimes. We'll figure it out. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate the update. But who can they reach out to in terms of a financial expert, a role for a financial expert who can offer them real solid advice when it comes to budgeting and planning?
I would almost say anybody local and within their area. When you look at doing some research, asking other business owners, right? I mean, there's a good start. I mean, who in your network do you know that's running a very successful business? It doesn't necessarily have to be HVAC specific. I mean, you can get budgeting principles from anybody that is running a solid budget. And so that would be where I would start. I'd be like, all right, well, who in my network, first and foremost, and asking them. And if they aren't the person, if they're a business owner and they're not the person who actually does their budgeting, they might know somebody who can do that before you hire in your own CFO or even fractional CFO into that. I mean, that is also another way too. If you don't necessarily have the capabilities to bring in a full-time CFO into your business, look at a fractional CFO. Fractional CFO is somebody who works part-time with you. They charge you a set amount of fee, and they give you a set amount of hours per month to really help dial in your process. That's another way that a lot of businesses can go to get that assistance.
Correct. And that's exactly where I was going with it. Amanda, what do you think for businesses that are under 5 million? You said at 5 million, you should start getting a CFO. But for businesses that are under that $5 million mark, but need to start putting together a budget, they hear you talk about this and they're curious, how much did they miss out on in terms of distributorship and wanting to project forward? Where would you recommend that they start looking for someone to help them put together that plan and budget?
So there are, how I learned through all this, that there are outsourced CFOs that you can hire at the capacity that you need them at. So tailored to the needs that you need. So whether it's like consultant work on helping you just nail down a budget, or consultant work on, putting in figuring out what your purchases were, where there's room for improvement. If your pricing jumps, like say you have one part number, but your pricing jumped 7 times, helping you nail those down so that you can be like, hey, what the heck's going on here? And then negotiate forward. So, I mean, you can hire them marginally. And I wish I knew that sooner, to be honest, but I did not know that until the discovery phase. So,
yep. Well, and that's why we put together the show, so that other people don't have to make the same mistakes, right? Because
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's painful to learn a lot of the lessons that you've had to learn going through business. And at the same time, imagine how many more mistakes you would have made if you didn't have the mentors that you've had already that have made an impact on your business.
Yeah, mentors. Thank you for touching on that, because that's a huge pivotal point of it, is surrounding yourself with people that know a lot more than you do, and then just being willing to ask the questions. And if there's something that you're struggling with, hey, what do you do in this area? Hey, my average ticket is too low. What do you do in this area to increase it? Or, hey, we keep losing due to price. What works for you? Whatever it is, just surround yourself with really good people that are willing to help you out.
Absolutely. I love that. Who have been some of the people that have impacted you in your business that have been mentors that you've reached out to in the past? Obviously, you just mentioned Ken and the impact that he's had on your distributor decisions.
Yeah, Ken has always been, so thanks to Cristiano, I was able to connect with Ken actually a month after launching Grasshopper. And the advice even he gave me that time I met him, before we were even something of a company, was like, set me light years ahead again, because it's like, he taught me to refine your offering and package your pricing. And I don't know if I should say this, but he says, take your price or your cost, what you need to make, and then add $5,000 to it. And there's your price, right? So he's taught me a lot. And then anytime I'd ever make a big decision, or I'm in the middle of like weighing, should I do this, should I not? I shoot him a text, and he's always super quick to respond. And you can't ask for anybody better than that, to be honest. My leadership coach, Dean, he's been an influential mentor to me as well. And then, believe it or not, my largest client as well. He believed in me when I had 2 employees, and gave us a shot, knowing damn well that he had a lot more work than we could put out. But truly, back in the commercial only days, he gave me an opportunity to prove myself. And because of him, I was able to just start a foundation that I was able to build a company off of. And we meet regularly, and, he's personal and professional mentor to me now. And I value people like that in my life.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, you stand on the shoulders of giants whenever you achieve anything. To think that anyone is a self-made person is just not accurate. And unfortunately, it looks like we're losing Amanda again.
It's not me. Like I said that last time when your shit messed up. But one of the things that I had written down that I was wanting to touch base with her on was the idea of texting somebody and responding back. And I know that she mentioned specifically Cristiano, and that's her marketing company who handles all of her marketing. That's also working with relationship, right? We hear a lot of times like, oh, my marketing company isn't doing it for me. Well, how often do you have conversations with them? How often are you integrated with them? How often do you reach out, right? And have that business to business back and forth, like, especially, in the case of who you're texting with, is you're texting with the business owner. Guess what? He's built a business, right? He's built a successful business. And so reaching out to other business owners to have those conversations at the same level as you is a phenomenal piece of it as well. I think this is good enough time for the random question generator.
Let's do it.
Oh man.
All right. Oh no, she's like, oh, lied. So the random question generator, bot.
It's like, can I start skipping now? Can my internet cut out now?
I don't know what I'm sorry.
It's all good. It happens.
Yeah,
it's happened to both of us in like the last 4
right?
shows, so it's all good. For once, it's
Evan. When we had when we had Leslie and Cassie on 2 weeks ago, Evan ended our broadcast like 20 minutes in, so we had to like stop, recreate another broadcast, and then go with it live again. So that's the pitfalls of going live, but it's also raw, real, and authentic. It's like you're on a Zoom meeting and you're freezing up and having that's just real, right? So all right, random question generator brought to you by On Purpose Media. On Purpose Media is one of the leading HVAC marketing companies in the space, at least in my opinion anyways. If you're struggling with your HVAC marketing, onpurposemedia.ca. We do not have a formal readout. We should probably get one. Random questions. All right, you get to choose. You do not get to know the questions. You just get to choose 1, 2, or 3. So which question do you want to go with?
I normally go with 3, but I'm going to go with 1.
Does your family have any weird traditions?
Weird traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about this for a second. I mean, naturally, my family's weird because we're all pretty weird in this life, right? I don't think we have weird traditions. I mean, okay, this might be weird to some people, but like on the kids' birthdays, I always go to Party City the night before and get as many balloons as possible and try and get as many like life-size balloons so that when they come down the stairs in the morning, it's like this wow factor of all these like live standing balloons. It's really hard now because as they get older, it's like, how do you find a perfect theme with like the life-size balloons to like hit them in the face when they come down the stairs?
Right. I love it.
Just recycle it at the 20-year mark. It's when you go to 21 or 31 or 41, it's the 1-year-old theme. At 22,
there you go.
32, it's 2-year-old theme, and just recycle back to that to the 10-year mark, and then recycle back. Congrats, it's a boy for their 30th or 40th birthday, or girl. I like that. I like the life-size balloon one. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah, we always fill the kids' bedroom with balloons on their birthday. So like they wake up and step out of bed and there's just balloons everywhere. And then we decorate usually the dining room. My oldest son, when he woke up, I think he was like 3 or 4, he came out and there's like, streamers and stuff everywhere. And he just goes, "What the Chinese?" And I have no idea where it came from, but it's been a constant saying in our house ever since.
Love it.
One of my previous jobs before, it was in a warehouse. And it's one guy, we pranked each other, and so his office was in the warehouse, but it was.
Can you not hear him either?
No, I can't hear him.
Okay, cool.
No. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you now?
I don't feel alone anymore. So thank you for the technical difficulties.
My internet shows that it's good. I'll restart. Hopefully it'll be good again. Story's done. You can carry on with the conversation.
You're skipping like crazy.
All right, next.
On to the next one.
It was a good story. It was a good prank.
It sounded like it. I
think I'm not skipping now. I could try again.
If you want to, go ahead. We'll wait.
Oh, he jinxed himself.
He did. And he totally froze completely. This is great. All right. I think this is a great tie-in terms of family dynamics, weird traditions into culture. And I'm curious, I wrote this down when you were talking about budget. What is the line item in your budget for the amount that you are spending on company gatherings and parties throughout the year? Because I feel like it's a significant number because, at least from what I see on Instagram, the parties that y'all throw look like they're a blast. I'm also curious what the Nerf budget is.
Oh my gosh. If I wish I could pick up my computer and show you the Nerf guns behind me, because the problem is I can be in a meeting and like when my door's shut, people usually know don't come in because the door's shut because she's meeting with somebody on a podcast, whatever. But there's these things called like Nerf ambushes here at Grasshopper and you never know when they're coming. So I have my stack here in
Nice.
case it happens.
Loaded, ready to go.
Yeah. It is probably a larger budget than most would budget for. I will tell you our 2-year anniversary parties in two weeks. So to give you a little preview, our budget for that is $20,000.
Nice. I love it. I haven't got my invite in yet, so I'm sure it got lost.
Oh, lost in the mail.
Yeah, I'll keep watching for it.
Listen, so a lot of companies have these big Christmas parties, right?
Yep.
Which I understand. You're closing out the year. It's natural to have a holiday party, but like for us with our anniversary being so close to like that month-ish, we decided to just scrap the Christmas party and have a fun holiday party and go really, really big for our anniversary party. And that for us is like our year in review. Mm-hmm. Celebrate people. We're going to celebrate people who are like values unlocked. So people that showed the values through and through, the mission value. We're going to have a new award this year called the Forward Award that I'm very excited about. And so instead of going big for the Christmas party, we're very intentional now about where we put those funds and that kind of energy into. Like we even hired an event planner for it moving forward to make sure that the experience is there and that the value we work hard and play hard is lived out.
Right. Well, and I love how you celebrate your staff online, on social. You make sure to recognize them on there, but also through like you mentioned, the awards that you're giving out. It's not just top performer. It's not top salesperson. It's not top average ticket. It's recognizing the values and what it is that you're trying to strategically appreciate for, so that you can bring out more of that in others. I think it's brilliant.
Right. Yeah, it was important for me because I think sometimes in a culture where you just celebrate highest average ticket, most sales, best closing ratio, whatever you want to celebrate in terms of the normal KPIs that people look at and metrics, it was important for me to be able to show Grasshopper through who we are as a company based on what awards we're giving out. And so we had a whole meeting, Kelly and I, dedicated to awards as a whole. And we struggled because it's like almost every single employee lived out these values, right? Or else obviously they wouldn't be here. So like having to go toe to toe on what like value equaled like a higher, like the client was like over the charts. I mean, I cannot tell you how hard narrowing down those awards was.
So did you have to just come up with a different award so you can recognize
You know what we
everyone?
did? Because we had such a hard time, we made it two-parted. So there's going to be like an inside staff for each value and an outside staff member for each value.
Nice. I love that.
And now if my team is watching this, they're going to know because I've given everybody 0 hints about the 2-year because the night's going to be an experience. So if one of them's watching, now they know.
You didn't give away enough though. It's like, there's still a little bit of excitement behind it because they don't know all the details and the nitty-gritty behind it. I mean,
sorry for ruining the surprise.
Right?
No,
when we asked if there's anything off limits, you did not say your 2-year anniversary party.
You're right. Right? I just keep saying you don't even know what's in store for you on February 1st. And like some of them, so I've like thrown out some emojis when I say that in Slack or something in all staff. So I keep having people come to me based on the emoji you threw out. Is somebody going to be reading our tarot cards? And I keep getting all these crazy things. I'm like, I'm not answering anything.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious as to what those emojis are now to get someone guessing a tarot card.
They're intentionally placed to detour.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things in your culture that you've built an amazing culture. And we've talked about that numerous times about culture, eat strategy for lunch. And when you have a great culture, people buy into what you're doing. When you have a great culture, recruiting becomes easy, on and on and on and on and on. But when thinking about culture and celebrating values and celebrating recognition, it's great that it's done at a party and an event, but I also think there's day-to-day recognition that goes untalked about. People don't really talk about it. So in what ways does Grasshopper leverage day-to-day recognition to be able to help create the culture that you guys have?
So we leverage Slack as a platform. And then in Grasshopper, we have our leadership team, right? And each leader is responsible for a different department or team within the company. And so we are very much so, obviously, as you know, employee centered. And so we celebrate those things loud and we celebrate them instantly. So like sold job notifications, somebody sells something, somebody adds something onto an install, or no $0 tickets, most memberships converted, CSRs with the highest call booking ratio. The leads are all very much aware that we look at these things live. So like the entire leadership team watches the days progress live, and we celebrate our wins. And then not only do we celebrate them individually to each employee, we then go put it in like, say, the Slack group, and where that person would fall under, so the entire team knows what just occurred. And so then it's not just leadership celebrating the person, it's the entire team celebrating. So I know we are getting data cube soon, so we'll have the live leaderboards up to be able to see things live in that regard. And then kind of just going off of what you said there with a little spin on it is we try really hard to support our employees, like physical, emotional, mental well-being as a whole. And what that looks like for us going into 2023 is, I don't know if I've shared this with you previously. If I haven't, we do have a mental health therapist on retainer. And I am happy to report that an incredible amount of people utilize that, which is important for me, because it's not so much that we tell people that you need to go talk to somebody. It's that my belief is that life is going to hit us all. And sometimes it's unexpected and sometimes it already has. And there's things that you have to work through. And so if we can just be able to provide a resource that best supports them, or that's just there, or them just knowing it's there for them should something come up, is important to me. Mental health is really important to me. And it's important that my employees have that resource. And it's one of the hardest things to come across right now. And insurance isn't covering it. So we have her on retainer. Our employees absolutely love her. And it's just an added benefit. And then going into like the employee well-being as a whole in 2023, a decision that the leadership team made was to bring on a chef in some format to be able to prepare breakfast and lunch every single day. So my rules were, one, it must be sustainable. So we're in the middle of narrowing down that right now. So moving into February, there'll be a chef here making breakfast every single day, and then packing to-go lunches for the employees, because the common thing for HVAC technicians and installers is they either don't have time to go get lunch, and if they do have time, they're going to get fast food and unhealthy food. So it's another way that we're able to support them in a different capacity, to where they understand that we care about them and we want to support them. And if that looks like healthier eating choices and having food readily available so that fast food's not the option, that's what it looks like.
As Corey just said, that's incredible next level. Like that's some powerful shit right there, you know, to do breakfast and to do lunches for your team. It just my mind, right? And when you think about like 25% or 40%, like a lot of people also grab fast food on the way to work. That's the other part too, is that they're so rushed in the morning that they're going to be stopping and grabbing McDonald's or I guess Dunkin' Donuts down there or whatever. And it's just not as healthy. I was about to say A&W, but I guess you guys have A&W. It's a big Canadian thing, but like it's just not healthy. And so
Timmy's. Can we get some Timmy's?
Tim Hortons, Timmy Ho-Ho's. But when in the lineups at Tim Hortons just are bonkers in the morning, it's like I don't understand it. But anyways, that's just me. It's just something that goes so powerful into the team to, again, to create this culture. My curiosity, and also John Gonzalez's curiosity, is in terms of looking at this culture. You know, when somebody came up with that idea, but who's the main driver of the culture on a day-to-day basis in your team?
I'll tell you what my answer is me. Okay. But I am a firm believer that kind of leadership starts at the top. And we are a mission-driven company. And our 6 values we make every single decision off of. So the main driver of the culture is me. And here's the thing is we are a mission-driven company. So our mission statement is we create opportunities that change lives and lead people to make great decisions. I mean, you see forward as a way of life behind me. That is how we operate, internal and external, right? But you've got to have a mission that people believe in. And this is the mission that I believe in, and it's my purpose here. And then your leadership team obviously takes that on, right? Your leadership team takes it on, and then it carries out to their teams. And every single person that's a cultural fit here, A, believes in our mission, C, lives out, or did I skip B and go to C? B, B
Okay.
respects our values and lives those out every single day. And so like we talk about being able to bring on a chef for breakfast and lunch, that's because we remain incredibly healthy, profitable from a profitable standpoint, because we have employees here and we've created a culture of accountability where dollars matter, our processes matter, our productivity matters. And because of that, we're in a place where we can provide those things, and we'll continue to level up in that regard. And so to answer the question simply, it starts with me.
Love it.
It starts with the person that you look at in the mirror every morning.
That too.
Right. One thing that I love is this idea of how can we keep employees around longer without having to just simply pay more, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw pay increases thrown out like crazy in the last 2 years because guys couldn't hire, and they had the work coming in, they had the jobs coming in, and they couldn't hire enough people to keep the trucks full, to keep the trucks running. And guys were leaving companies simply because they got a $2 an hour pay raise over here instead. So I love this idea around how can we retain our staff longer by doing these extra things. I'm going to give an extra nugget from a buddy of mine and a mentor of mine. He wrote the book Giftology. For those of you that have not read it, John Ruland, it's a phenomenal book. One of the things that he does at his company, two things. One, he hires a cleaner for all of his staff. Two,
Wow.
right? Two, he buys them a mattress, and it's like a $2,000 or $3,000 mattress, because how can you make an impact on the person who is the greatest influence on your staff member, which is their spouse, their partner, right? And if they're in their ear every day talking about how great the mattress is or how great it is that they don't have to clean the house because you work at this place, they're never going to be allowed to quit.
I am going to take that one and put it in the forward thinking bucket.
I thought you'd like that one.
I love it.
Kelly's watching. She can take a note too. She can put it in the bucket for you.
That's even better.
Yep.
Yes,
Delegate.
please. Kelly, that is next level.
And I bet you she's excited about it too. She's like, new mattress and cleaner? Absolutely.
I'm going to bounce back to the budget here because a thought just popped into my mind. Never had a budget. Now 2023 have a budget. Looking at now coming into it, what sort of checks and balances do you have in place to make sure that you are on pace, above pace, under pace towards your budget, and you're hitting the metrics that you guys set out?
The CFO. So he usually Tuesdays or Thursdays, we have a meeting where we recap the previous week, but he's looking at the day-to-day. And then we've got obviously two people in accounting that are watching the day-to-day as well. And we have a really good grasp on the processes, productivity, and procedures right now to where things just fall into place how they're supposed to go at this point because we've got the processes set up. So it's not so much about worrying about the day-to-day. We're very much so forward thinking now on how to get even better as each month goes on. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
But it's been, it was a lot of work at first. You got to put in a lot of work at first with the CFO and really getting things in place and understanding and where you want to get to. And so I based the budget off of the EBITDA percentage that I want to be able to achieve this year. Our first full 12 months as Grasshopper was 2022 because we only had 11 months in 21 when we first launched. And the percentages that we were able to accomplish last year alone were, I have no words, incredible.
Which retention helps a lot with that because the staffing and hiring and training is one of the most expensive line items on every business.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Do you mind sharing like what your EBITDA percentage goal is? Or is that something that's off limits?
Yeah, so our goal for 2023 is 25%. I can tell you we were just under 4 points shy of that in 2022. And people are like, oh, yeah, okay, that could be impossible or whatever. You're not calculating it right. And Nope. Our CFO calculated it. You know, our finances go to the bank sometimes just to continue updating them. And we were, I mean, in a remarkable position very early on with that. And I think some of it is accounting, yes, but most of it is that negotiations that we did with the distributor.
Right.
Yep.
But and also pricing yourself accordingly within the market too, right? And I'm sure that you're not the cheapest in your market. There's no way that you can with that. But the other part of it too, and this goes back to, you know, what Tommy Mello says all the time. You see him preaching from the stage, and people are hearing this number of 25% EBITDA. You got to charge a lot to be able to get that. But well, no, you negotiate good things. But yeah, you might charge a little bit more than somebody else. But what do you do for your team? What do you do for your employees? What do you do for your staff? Are you underpaying them? Are you actually giving them a life, right? Are you giving them somewhere that they really want to be, and you're taking care of them so they can take care of their family, which then takes care of more people? Like, think about the whole spin-off of the amount of mouths that your company can feed on a day, and not just yours. Like, this is anybody listening, right? Any type of business, the mouths that you can feed and the mouths that you can impact are an important piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, and we focus more at this point. And I say at this point because there's things that I did get wrong, and there's things that I failed at, and there's things that I learned the hard way. And at this point where we're at now, we focus more on the employee experience than we focus on the customer experience. And through that, I'm not saying that we don't give a great customer experience. I'm saying we give our employee an even greater experience at Grasshopper. And our hope is that they go and give our customer an even better experience than we give them. And, you know, oftentimes there's guys that walk through here and they joke and they go, yeah, I sold, you know, $80,000 today, whatever it may be. And they're like, wow, that's incredible. And somebody say, well, what happened? How'd you do that? And he goes, I just sold Amanda, or I just sold the company. It was easy. And it's easy to do those kinds of things, and it's easy to sell when you're able to provide that value to the client, because they know what company that they're partnering with, and they know how and why you're going to best support them and why you're the right person for the job.
Well, it's easy to sell when you have belief in the product that you're representing, right? Your blow motor goes out in 6 months. Well, hey, we'll just replace your whole unit.
Yeah, one of our values is we serve above and beyond every time. And that narrows down to, you know, there's another value. We do what is right, even when right is hard. Okay. So we had a situation about 4 months ago. People who are other business owners are going to know the language I'm going to use here, but this client had financed and we did not have NTP, and NTP is notice to proceed. And the job was $10,000. And somebody flagged that we didn't have NTP when we were halfway installing the system. And if you're a contractor, you know, if you don't have NTP, that you're not getting paid. So there is no backing out. Okay. So my office, the leadership team tried to figure it out. Eventually it came to me and they said, we messed up. And I love that. I love when somebody comes to me and says I messed up, because it means A, that they learn, B, that they're accountable, and C, we're going to be able to find a way forward, because all I care about is that you came to me and said that you messed up and you didn't try and hide it and figure it out. Right. So they said, look, $10,000 job, woman has no money readily available. We didn't have NTP and we're halfway done. And I said, okay, then what's going to happen here? And I looked at both of them straight face and they said, she's going to get a free install. I said, yes, she is, because our issue and our process is not her fault, and we're not going to put that stress on her. So even down to those hard things, like your values must show through no matter the circumstance.
That's incredible. I love it.
A powerful story, but I mean, it's doing what's right, not what's easy, right? And I know that's not your full core value. I mean, that's just something that I've said for a long time. Do what's right, not what's easy. And that's definitely what's right, not what's easy. I mean, most people are like, oh, I'll pull the unit out. No, sorry, Mrs. Jones. Nah, that's your reputation though, right? One thing you had mentioned is there's a lot of things that you got wrong. There's a lot of things that you failed at. There's a lot of things you learned the hard way. I want to unpack a couple of those, because we've talked a lot about the successes and things that have went right, for you guys. What are some of those you got wrong, those things that you failed at? What are some of those things that you've learned the hard way?
Yeah. So before I was ever Grasshopper, I thought that the way to like good culture was by getting like swag. And when I mean swag, I just mean like shirts with your logo on it and giving it out, and like getting together once every few months. And then kind of when you start to achieve success or you start to make some money, you kind of, I think naturally for everybody, they kind of elevate to this place where, okay, I can just put managers in place and now they can help run the show. Or, okay, now that we've got some money in the bank and I got this figured out, you're going to go run this and I want you to run this job and just report back to me next week or something. And I very much did some of those things in the beginning, to where I may not have always been readily accessible, and I may have put the wrong people in wrong positions. And I personally didn't spend enough time with them in the beginning. And so what happened is, you know, say I had somebody with me before that person came on that I trusted to go lead. That ultimately ended up backfiring into an epic fail on my behalf, because I am responsible for the people that are leading my team. And if I didn't vet that person properly enough and they just came in and did more damage, and then I handed the torch over and then turned this way and focused on the next one and never followed through and never checked on accountability. I mean, I've that one story alone, I've had a lot of epic fails, where I personally had to go and apologize. Believe it or not, I'll tell the story because the guy's still with me to this day. The same situation I was just telling you. I trusted somebody in a leadership position too early on, and I shouldn't have. And there's this one employee I had, he was great, but the story that was being projected to me was that this employee was not great. And I listened to what he said. I evaluated it. It made sense. And do you think that I sat down with the employee and asked what's going on here? No, I didn't. I listened to what this guy said, and we made a decision, which was termination. And there had been, you know, whatever. The decision was termination. And about a week and a half later, I had other employees sit me down and say, you made the wrong decision, and here's why. And that was hard. And I listened to what they said, and I immediately called that employee up. And I said, look, I totally understand if you don't want to talk to me. I totally understand if you don't want to take my call right now. But I'm just calling you to tell you that I made a really bad decision, and I just learned the hard way. And I'm wondering if you could come and see me in person. And he did, and he came and talked to me. I apologized again, and he's still with me to this day.
I love it.
Yep.
Was that your brother?
No.
Oh.
No, he's an installer, and it's a hard story. And I mean, we don't, you know, he and I, we don't even think about it anymore because it was quickly water under the bridge. But I think it was me being able to be accountable that I failed epically and made a really poor decision on many layers.
Yep. Well, and I think that's a trap that a lot of business owners can fall into, and that showing vulnerability in any kind of way to your team can come across as weak. And it isn't. It shows you're human, right? And it allows, as Cody just said, it takes real integrity to do that, right? It's an incredible skill set to be able to come back and say, hey, I made a mistake. I fucked up. Yeah. Here's what I've learned from it. Here's how I want to move forward with this, because forward is a way of life, right? Mm-hmm. And how are we all going to learn better as a team? Here's what we're going to do differently. Here's the SOP that we're going to put in place as a leadership team, so that when a next termination comes up, it's going to be because it's the right decision for the company, not because we're making a rash decision. Yeah.
And ever since then, every single employee knows I have an open door policy. I'm never too busy or have too much going on. If there's something that somebody needs to speak to me about, I mean, we've got an employee advocate, HR. We've got multiple layers now, but my door is always open if somebody has anything at all that they need to speak to me about. And I don't care where this company grows to. I may have a leadership team, but I will never take my finger off the pulse on who's leading teams and responsible for other people within Grasshopper.
I love it. So,
and go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just with that being said, I do invest now. That leadership mentor and coach that I have, he is a resource that my leadership team meets with weekly as well. So not only is he my mentor and coach from a leadership realm, I've made him available, and he's also on retainer for my entire leadership team. And the cool thing is we're all learning common language on our journeys. And he understands the mission and where we're headed and what it looks like at Grasshopper and the vision. And he's able to lead those people. And if they're struggling with something, they're able to buffer with him. And if there's anything I need to get involved in or that I need assistance with, I'm able to get pulled into those and help. But it's every single week. And so there's constant development going into the leadership team with the same language that I'm learning. So
I love it. Well, and this is something I learned from Gary Keller. He's the founder of Keller Williams Real Estate. He's co-author of the book, The One Thing, another great book that I think all leaders need to read. But one of the things that he talks about is, as a leader's job is not to teach your people what to think, but how to think.
Yeah.
And I think you're doing an exceptional job of that. But as your role continues to expand and your company continues to expand, you hire more and more people, that becomes more and more difficult. So I'm curious what kinds of checks and balances you're putting in place in order to keep a pulse on that, so that, one, you're able to hold your leadership team accountable. Two, you're able to then still have a pulse on everyone within the organization in terms of how they're feeling on a daily basis.
there's a few different ways, but the quick thing that came to my head when you said that is how. So our employee advocate gets breakfast with every employee here, like on monthly rotations. Nice. And that takes them outside of the company and just makes it more relational to where they do understand that she's an individual who's here to support them and whatever that looks like. And then we have reviews every 6 months with every single team member here as well to not take our finger off the pulse. And then we have Tuesdays with Grasshopper every Tuesday where the entire company comes together. We have breakfast, usually some motivational stuff, sometimes games if we haven't played a game together in a long time. And then we break out into teams. So we're always coming back to the table as a company once a week at minimum. And then teams meet individually every single day. But it's just staying in front and staying in front and staying in front.
Love it. And how often are your leadership team meeting with each employee within their department one-on-one?
So that is an area where we probably could improve on a little bit, the one-on-ones with that. I can tell you we kind of are in between deciding what Tuesdays with Grasshopper looks like as a whole. And sometimes we do meet one-on-one. So sometimes there's time slots where we break out after breakfast and all that, where the leadership meets with their teams individually. Or if it's like, say they want to do some role playing, or say we're going to talk about a procedure change, then that's when we meet with them as a group. But we put a focus on the one-on-ones because it's important. You know, if somebody's struggling with something or something's not going well, or they want to know what it's going to look like, the road to become a service tech, they're not going to say that in a group setting. They're going to say it one-on-one. So.
Correct. And it's interesting too, because when you put together a group of people in that group setting, you can usually tell when something's off with one person. Yeah. And it's real easy to pull them aside real quick and have a little sidebar and have a good conversation with them and connect with them. So
yeah, and that's why it's important to know your people. So we have KYP. Okay, you'll hear KYP very often throughout Grasshopper, which just simply is know your people. We know our people and we put honest efforts into that. So going into 2023, another experience for the employees is that the leadership team must be here 10 minutes before employees are expected to be here. That way we're front and center, where we're able to engage with our teams and the company as a whole. That way we're able to, hey, how is, if their son's name is Finn, how is your son Finn? How was your weekend? What's going on? Is there anything happening? What do you have planned this weekend? That way, those relational things where it matters that you can circle back to, we're able to conversate with them.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, Evan was getting distracted. I told him to check something, and he actually did and got distracted. I wasn't prepared for the next part. So,
you're good.
So as we wrap up, we're going to start to wrap up here because I have a hard stop. I got a Christmas party in January to go to for my wife's company. We have one final question here for you coming up, Amanda. I think you probably already know what it is. But what is one question that you wish people would ask you more but don't? That is awesome.
What's that, man? I almost cried.
So I started messaging Kelly.
That's why you were distracted. Okay.
Yeah.
So I started messaging. So for those that are listening later, their team stormed in and hit her with a bunch of Nerfs.
I was not prepared for that.
So I started messaging Kelly. I'm just like, all right, you guys got it. When we're wrapping up, you got to storm in and hit her with a bunch of Nerf guns. And she's like, done. We're gonna. And she's like, we're laughing so hard right now, scrabbling to find all the bullets. She's like, when do I go? I'm like, I'll give you the signal. So it was like, it almost made me felt like a Navy SEAL or something. Like, go, 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 go. And the next thing you know, like literally, they're just flying bullets at you. That was awesome.
That is what it looks like here on a daily basis, no matter whose office that's happening in.
Right? I love that. So to go back to the question, though.
Little up there, so I gotta like calm my heart rate down.
First time that somebody's been shot with Nerf guns on our show. Actually, on my 30th birthday, we went to a place with all my friends, and when we got in there, my wife had organized this amazing weekend, and they're like, "All right, Thad, we got a present for you." So they I had a brown paper bag over my head, and I had to stand in the room for like 2 minutes, and they're like, "All right, take it off." And they're all standing there, and they started firing Nerf guns at me, and one of them hit me in the eye. Actually, I got hit below the belt, and then I got hit in the eye. So I'm standing there with one hand over my eye and one hand below my belt, just in pain. So at least you didn't get hit in the eye on this one. So
if you took the last bullet, it like just went through my hair and almost got my eyeball. So
well, we're safe. We're safe then. So to wrap that up, I still want to know the question of, what is one question that you wish people would ask you more, but don't?
Oh gosh, you asked me this last time, and it's a really hard one.
That's what she said.
I'll buy some time for you. That I had a one-on-one with my team. I've been doing it all the last week and a half, and one of my team members, I'm like, well, do you have any other questions for me? She's like, well, what is one question that you wish people would ask you more, but don't? I'm like, so I got it spun on me. So
damn. I guess what is forward is a way of life. What does that mean?
Sure.
Not many people ask me that.
Sure. Well, what does forward is a way of life mean?
So obviously, some people don't know this, just like I didn't. Grasshoppers only move in a forward direction. And so I was deciding the tagline for Grasshopper. We were like between keeping our clients moving forward. I'm like, no, Dan, that's cliche. I can't get down with that. And so him and I went back and forth, and we battled on this one. And so I came down to forward is the way of life. And then I struggled with that too. And I said, no, because sometimes in life, forward is not the only way of life. And so the reason why our tagline is forward is a way of life is because sometimes you have to take 2 steps backwards or sideways, or sometimes you just need to pause and rebuild again to be able to keep moving forward. So not only is it a spin on the Grasshopper, but it is personal to me, the story of Grasshopper itself, and our goal is to keep our employees moving forward and our clients that we serve as well. And so forward is a way of life just simply leaves room for the human element that sometimes it's not always forward, and sometimes it's okay to take 2 steps backwards if it means moving forward again.
Love it.
I love it. And you know what's funny is I'm pretty sure that was the exact same answer that you gave the first time you came on the show when I completely butchered your last name.
It was not.
It was really similar.
It wasn't the question. The question was different, but I remember, like, I looked at the notes and we talked about what does forward is way of life mean.
Yeah.
And it was very, very, very similar. And so, but that's congruency, right? When you can have congruency in your messaging and congruency in all things that you do. And this even circles back to the culture, right? I remember back to an old business that we were in, and we hammered these 3 points home. And even as a leader to all of the salespeople and even in the team, we hammered them every single day. In fact, I just finished The Power of One More, Ed Milet's book, and he even talked about that too. As leaders, you got to reiterate the same thing over and over and over and over again so that it sticks, right?
Yeah, we say. Go ahead.
No, keep going. You're good.
We say our mission statement together as a company every Tuesday morning, and we shout the values out together as a company every single Tuesday morning, because it's important that that's at the front of what we do. And so we even made some like cultural, and I'm trying to wrap this up, I promise, just one last note. We made some like cultural shifts within the company as well. So like, instead of calling a sale or like a happily involved client or closers or whatever, we call it great decisions. Because at the end of our mission statement, we lead people to make great decisions, whether that's they make no decision and we properly educate them and we inform them, whether they buy a surge protector or blower wheel cleaning, whatever it is, or whether they get a full system. Whatever that great decision is for that client, it's something that we led them to by doing our job, informing and educating. And so when there is success, we celebrate great decisions. So it really lives through your culture.
Thus is the power of language, which is incredibly important. I love that. I love it. Well, I don't think we could wrap up any better than showing what your good friend, Dan Antonelli, who is aptly known as Facebook user here because he hasn't given permission to StreamYard yet. But he said in a few short years, I believe Amanda Triolo will be known as one of the greatest operators to ever exist in this space. I could not have said it better myself, Dan. Amanda, you are one hell of an impressive leader. You're an impressive individual. To think that you're only 29 and just getting started is almost terrifying. Because you have an incredible gift as a leader, and you're doing some incredible things in the space, incredible things. Anthony also echoes the same sentiment as well. Thank you, Anthony. You're doing some incredible things with that team, and it's fascinating to watch. I love seeing your team every year at the Profit Rocket Summit, because that was a blast to see you walk in. All of you are cheersing, having a glass of champagne as soon as you walk in. You're doing your cheer right in there in the middle of the lobby. It's phenomenal to see. And true to what you said there on Tuesdays, your team was shouting your 6 core values. 6 core values while you were up on stage. And it's something that you live day in and day out, and it's phenomenal. So thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for being a leader in this industry.
Thank you guys.
For being authentically you.
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece people miss out on, is don't take that part out of yourself and remain very transparent, because people respect that a whole hell of a lot more.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you've got some banging music playing in the background, so you probably got a party to get to.
I know.
Go hit them back.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you worry.
All right. Well,
look forward to the Facebook Live.
Yes.
Cheers, Amanda. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Well, that's a wrap on another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, 2 quick things. First off, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny bit of information out of this show, no matter how big, no matter how small, all we ask is for you to introduce this to one person in your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.